happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Bart has a job?
The sludge certainly collects donuts. Right, old sludge, you bat.
And all new Simpsons Thursday.
Ow!
I know you've seen that Martin reunion. It's available on HBO Maximum.
I started watching it and I will finish it. And I think I already said this, but Kendra hooked it up when that initially came out and got me like a fan prize thing that is literally a jacket.
The jacket, yeah.
A dope ass jacket. I should have had it on, but yeah, dude, I'm definitely gonna check it out.
It's got your girl Tachina in that motherfucker. It's got the living remaining members. I mean, Bruh Man pops up. They did a little special, just like the Fresh Prince reunion. They did something with James Avery. They did something with Tommy, with the Martin reunion. And they even had a little segment with his widow and his children. And I didn't even know he was married to a Hispanic lady. And I can only imagine, man. Like, she was attractive, but back in the day, she was probably boing.
Oh yeah, Tommy back in the day, he was already a handsome son of a bitch.
And he was bald and black at the right time in the 90s, like, Michael Jordan crushing it. George Foreman came back, and his comeback back in the day, he had a fro, but when he made his comeback in the 90s, I'm bald and black. Come here, Vander. Michael Moore.
Yeah, Michael Moore. I remember that dude, kid. I was like, how is this possible? This guy's like fucking 50 years old, just
playing haymakers on motherfuckers. So
eating.
it was a statement. Onyx, they were all like, it was 4 of them, black and bald. It was a good time to be black and bald.
Yeah, and plus, Tommy had some style too, and I feel like that followed off of Martin. He didn't look shitty or shabby ever. So
they commented on it, man. Like, how you always dress nice, bro? You ain't got no job. Because he stayed with the drip.
It's always, I don't know, man, those reunion shits, I'm slow to watch them, especially that one. But it's cool that they were able, especially to get all of them together, the living ones. Just out of curiosity, was Tracy Morgan a part of it at all? I know he played a very small role in the show, but
because it's Tracy Morgan these days, he did a video. Like, shout out, like, this was the show that kind of like gave me a shot, because this was before SNL, before all this shit he did, Brian Fellows and all of that. This is Tracy Morgan in the early to mid 90s, man. So he did that. Bruh Man, he was there. He popped up. Snoop did a performance. He showed up, because that was his first foray into acting. On that episode,
I didn't know that was the first thing he did, but that's dope, man. That's cool. I'll definitely check it out now. That's awesome. Damn, I love Snoop will show up for just about anything, Steve, and I respect it. This guy
Uncle Snoop.
He's got to be like at least close to $500 million net worth, Steve. I got to feel
got to. Just his net worth. Yeah, man. Like, he's that dude. I feel some people were born to be stars. And Snoop, like, from day one, like when he was in that episode of Martin, he was just being him. But like, as a kid, I gravitated to that because I'm like Snoop was like number one. It was like 93, 94. Doggy Style had came out already. And I was like, oh my God, Snoop Dogg. Oh, whoa. Just
and
stuck,
he was,
man.
honestly, dude, when he first was like doing TV appearances at all, he was like kind of shy too. I remember he did like an MTV thing where they interviewed him somewhere and he wouldn't even like look up. He like Mitch Hedberg the interview and was just like answering like this, and it was like very endearing. And then he like blasted off. And to your point, even now, like he was himself then. He's, even if with Martha Stewart, he's got like a fucking bandana styled sweatsuit on. He's smoking pot copiously. He's not changing. You got to
love some Uncle Snoop.
That's why I like Hunter S. Thompson. It's like this guy got to live his life on his terms and never, ever change any part of it for anybody.
He didn't have to fit. Like the society fit to him.
And
Like
loved it. Like, especially like if you think about a lot of the crazy shit that happened in the 90s for Snoop Dogg, to be where he's at now is just, I mean, you got to applaud it. And I love it because I love fucking Snoop. I won't stop.
One of the 48 laws of power, growth and change, because it's inevitable, man. Just like Ice Cube. You don't see him with a Jerry curl these days, talking that doughboy shit. Like, yeah, remember me from Boys in the Hood? Like, no, bro, time moves. And so do you, man. You know, he became a director, an actor, then director, producer. He's fucking making Disney movies now and prop. He's got a fucking basketball league.
I was about to say, I mean, don't even this.
Like,
that's kind of when you actually like pull out a little bit, pause, and look at the success business wise of like a lot of these 90s rapper dudes. You got to really respect it and wonder who was somebody just leading them. Like, were they helping each other to figure this out? Because it is wild that if you think like Dre, Cube, Snoop Dogg, those three guys just in and of themselves, they're all like themselves a business. It's not just their artists or whatever. They're like releasing whatever apparel, fucking earbuds, headphones. You know, I mean, fucking Dre's a billionaire at this point. He doesn't even have to be a businessman anymore. But that's crazy. Wish I could add what were they drinking, Steve? It wasn't lean. So whatever that was in the 90s, whatever that mix was, give me some of that.
Some of that crooked eye.
After all they've been through, this can't be happening.
We're going back to Minneapolis.
Minneapolis?
Could always run away.
A very special 90210, Thursday.
Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your box of Wheaties and your melted government cheese, because every morning there's a halo hanging from the corner of my girlfriend's four-post bed. Sugar go, baby.
I think
Don't
that
say
is
a word.
actually right. I think you got the words right. Who is that?
Someday,
who sings that?
Sugar Ray, baby. Don't say a word.
Some Mark McGrath.
Someday, in the heights of the blind. We're gonna talk a little bit about some Mark McGraths. We're gonna talk a little bit about some don't be your show. This is your show of movies of a show of a movie. In times when, in situations where the movie has nothing to do with what we're talking about, you find a way.
The fuck is he talking about?
So this is your moment, and I am not mad at you because I love it. It's probably the GOAT of spoof movies. So we're gonna be talking about that. Bye. And a little bit about Arlen again.
God damn it, Steve.
My friend, we're talking about all things January 12th. In the 90s. Starting off in 1990, Downtown was released in theaters. An eager rookie cop gets transferred to tough Philly downtown after stopping a powerful man for traffic violations. When his old cop buddy is murdered, he wants an in on catching the killer. Directed by Richard Benjamin, starring Anthony Edwards, Forrest Whitaker, Penelope Ann Miller, and Joe Pantoliano.
Joey Pants, Anthony Edwards. I wonder if he still had hair at this point.
He didn't.
He didn't. He was with Lawrence Fishburne's up in this bitch.
Yeah. No, Forrest Whitaker. Wrong black actor. Wrong hoe, fool.
Anthony Edwards they were really trying to push his ass because I think he was in like a Pet Sematary sequel also. Like he was like kind of a 90s go-to. ER, obviously.
ER. He was popping before that. He was in the shit with Judd Reinhold and fucking the shit where the hot bitch had that scene where she's coming out the pool. The shit back in the 80s. He was in that shit. Life and Times at Ridgemont. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Okay.
The Life and Times of Sean Carter at Ridgemont High. 80s, 90s, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he still had hair.
Yeah, okay.
Anthony
Anthony had
Edwards with
lost
hair.
it, yeah, but look at him. I got to appreciate it, but I don't know, man. This is an ugly movie, Steve. There's a lot of this isn't one to
Well,
watch if you want to fucking get turned on, I think.
but they considered this picture Beverly Hills Cop, but in reverse. And it was also considered a knockoff of Lethal Weapon. He's a white guy and he's a black guy. They're cops and they're going to take down the killers.
This summer, a black guy and a white guy team up.
And they make a podcast. I bet, who was that fuck that interviewed us? Fucking Moth. What was his name? Sloth, some shit. He would probably enjoy Downtown in 1990 on January
Steve,
12th.
you're black. What's that like?
What's that like? Oh man, I love the thing that you're doing. He's over there being a white guy. You're over there being a black guy. Happened in the 90s, everyone.
Why the fuck? I'm into this.
Why the fuck didn't you check in? This motherfucker approached us like some Crips in Compton. Like, why don't you check in? You should have checked in before you came. Motherfucker, I will beat your ass. Where do you live at in Florida? Fuck, like.
Let me tell you something about Steve G. Whooping a damn whooping some Florida trash. Oh, that was fun, Steve. And I appreciate that you're calling this guy out because the vibe was just off. But
from the jump, from the fucking jump, dog. Like you yelled because you tapped in before I did. You were like, man, I don't know if I want to come back in. And I was like, man, what you say to my dog? Hold up, let me come in this motherfucker. And then he chewed me out. I wasn't prepared for it because I looked at his profile. I was like, all right, man, this dude, it's going to be a cool show. We're going to make some fun with it. This motherfucker, when we both got in, he was like, oh, you hopping in out of turn. Like, we playing double dutch.
There ain't no announcement, Chief. Like, you ain't got a fucking producer that's calling us out and like, hey, just don't go in right away. Don't click the button that says join meeting. Sorry about that.
I joined at the time you told us to join in, fucking cocksucker. Fuck
You're
you.
not listening to my live stream about this chick's personal affairs with some kind of weird, I don't even know, divorce or like cuck situation or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we ended up roasting a man with his buckle shoes. But on that same day in January 12, 1990, Internal Affairs was released in theaters. An Internal Affairs agent becomes obsessed with bringing down a cop who has managed to maintain a spotless reputation despite being involved in a web of corruption. Directed by Mike Figgis, starring Richard Gere, Andy Garcia, Nancy Travis, Laurie Metcalf, Richard Bradford, and William Baldwin. And by all accounts, the movie sucked.
Yeah, I mean, there's some names in this. They even got Billy Baldwin, one of the offshoots, to show up and put his chin in there. But I don't know, Steve. I don't remember this one. It sounds a little better than the last one that you talked about with Forrest Whitakers and Anthony Edwards, but I don't know. It sounds like a loser to me.
Well, yeah, Richard Gere and Andy Garcia reportedly didn't even get along during the filming, and some of the scenes in which they were required to hit each other were real. Garcia didn't even show up at the watch party.
This son of a bitch. I had a bunch of gerbils as a present to my kids, and they just went missing one day. I look over at Richard, he's all fucked up.
Yeah, Richard Gere, he's having internal affairs of his own. Yeah, that's a double, triple. That's kind of a triple entendre. You hear that, Sean Carter? You mastermind. On that same day in 1990, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1, 2, 3 premiered in theaters. A California couple and a survivalist encounter Leatherface and his family, directed by Jeff Burr, starring Kate Hodge, William Butler, Ken Faree, Tom Hudson, and Viggo Mortensen.
See this one? I was thinking this was the one with Matthew McConaughey where he has like a bionic like leg.
No.
This
is 1990. The world wasn't ready for McConaughey.
Hey, Leatherface. I love me some horror movies back in the day. I'm sure there's some fucking funny shit in this. I don't know. For some reason, I'll tell you, the first one, legitimately, when I first saw that shit, creeped me the fuck out. There's something about it.
The original?
Yeah.
It was authentic. This didn't seem authentic. And like, it was like not consistent because the director Jeff Burr was fired at the beginning of this shit, and they bounced around to like 50 people damn near. So they say. And Peter Jackson was like one of the people they offered, and he's like, "No, I got some way bigger shit on the horizon. Just watch.
I got some plans.
Yeah, I got big plans, bigger than this shit."
They kind of tried to fuck with the vibe of it because, like, the first one, I think the reason it is kind of creepy is it's so low budget, it almost looks like a home video, you know, and it's like, I don't know, there's something about the grittiness of it that adds to it. And then like the ones like even the one with McConaughey, which I do kind of like, it gets kind of like so wacky. It's just it's you can't even really call it a horror movie at a certain point, you know. It's just kind of weird. But I didn't see this one, but it does have Viggo Mortensen in it, so little connection to Peter Jackson. Maybe, you know, maybe they approached him and mentioned Viggo, and he couldn't work with him then, but they eventually connected.
And it also has Ken Faree, who was the dad of Kenan Thompson on Kenan and Kel.
Ken Faree.
He was the bald black guy with the glass. He was Kenan Thompson's dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I got you. He was in this movie in Leatherface?
Yeah.
Leatherface. I mean, this movie, it had everything you needed, but unfortunately, I guess they just couldn't line it up. They weren't ready.
They should have added some orange sodas. But on that same day in 1990, Ski Patrol premiered in theaters. A developer attempts to sabotage the safety record of a ski resort. Directed by Richard Carell, starring Roger Rose, Yvette Napar, Ray Walston from Martian and Me. That's a deep cut back in the 60s.
Damn.
And Martin Mull.
We're going to lose the rec center if we don't win this ski race. This is basically that South Park episode. Hey, Darsh.
Yeah.
What's up, Darsh?
Pretty much. And do you see the guy behind me pointing his finger?
Yeah.
This is George Lopez's debut as an actor.
Damn, he looks so young in that, but you can definitely tell it's him. That's funny.
Fuck yeah. He looks like AC Slater in this. That's how young he looks.
Yeah, damn, look at them fucking big ass eyebrows too.
Man. Ert and Bernie would be jealous.
That's hilarious. Damn, G Lopez. What did it on a ski slope?
1990.
Hey, fool. Look at the guy. What was this team up? What was going on Ski Patrol here?
Well, they had to meet the Rainbow Coalition standards at the time. This is the 90s. Jesse Jackson was on some ass. He was on some asses in Hollywood.
Get a black man in this damn shit.
We need some representation from the blacks, the browns, the Hebrews, and the Jews.
Wow. Well, you know, hey, Darsh.
Yeah, that's what we do with that. But in 1992, the highest scoring NCAA basketball game was held. Troy State Trojans beat DeVry Hoyas 258 to 1.
DeVry? Like,
yeah,
DeVry.
That's them.
Why'd they have a team? Did you have to mail in to get on the team? Or
great question. They barely had a team, Matt. They barely had a fucking team. This is Troy State after they whooped on that monkey ass. But get the score, 258 to 149 in Troy, Alabama.
Oh my God. Why don't you just call it at a certain point? These guys were tired. Man. Fuck.
Why isn't a movie made of this game? Because it's of epic proportions. They weren't even NCAA DeVry. They are an NAIA school. Like, y'all ain't even got the right vowel. The vowels ain't even all, and the consonant, like, yeah, all of that, bro. DeVry. This should have been
when the kids that went to tech school have to go into the NCAA.
In fairness to DeVry, they had 7 players in this game.
DeVry, dude. I question why you would do this to these poor kids. Was this like some sort of, you know, like in heavyweights, like they make the fat kids go up against the sporty kids to like fuck with their heads? Is it that?
Bro, it's no different than, like, okay, I'm a Buckeye fan, but I'll admit it. even with the Nittany Lions, bro. Like those first couple games before y'all go into Big Ten action, before you go and might play a good school out of the conference, like you play fucking cookie cutter fucking schools, and I think this was the case because the Troy State, like they were not even D1 themselves, they were on their way, they were D2, and they were going to go D1 that following year, but they were kicking ass because of the coach. He had like a high octane, they call it high octane offense that was quick pace, and they would attempt to steal on every defensive like stance. So they were running up numbers, man. They already had a record of 187. Like that was their highest. That was the record, I believe, before with Troy State, and then they turned it up with this 258, bro.
I mean, I just got to say, looking at the white dudes on the team, like they look like they played for Perrysburg High School, like at some point. You know what I mean? Like these look like some legit bros from Perrysburg.
When I see white guys on good teams, I assume they're the sniper, and that's fair. I mean, from based on our
guy,
the Steve Kerr, the Jim Paxson, yeah, the Danny Ainge, the Dan Marley. I mean, that's just facts, which is still cool in its own right, man. I don't see him as the guy that was just like doing alley oops on motherfuckers and fucking like catching in midair.
Scott Skiles in your life to look like shit, but be able to drain a three from anywhere. You need that. You need a JJ Redick.
You need the sniper. Word to Michael Jordan's. Like, dude, one guy had 41 points. Three guys had 29 points. One guy had 24. Everybody who played, except for one guy, was in double digits.
I mean, this is one of those. I mean, you got to feel great after this as one of these guys. You're probably getting beat a lot. You come out one night, and everyone's putting up duds. I'm like, this is unheard of. But then you're doing it against DeVry, so that's got to that's got to hurt a little bit. But even so, it's like, man, they came out. Like, you should have just fucking not shown up, bitch.
Dude, I think me and you could have got a full ride at DeVry.
I mean, honestly, I got a nice turnaround jumper. I got a nice little like fake Shaq one-handed like half hook shot, like that little joint he used to do in the paint. You know what I'm talking about?
The floater, the one-arm floater.
Yeah. And I got a big ass, so I can do that Shaq like acid up move and like, back him down a little bit, pause. And I definitely think, you and I, DeVry, right now, I'm laying down the fucking gauntlet. We got you. I'll take any two right now.
Y'all only had 7 people on the roster. Bitch. But in 1993, January 12th, Dennis Leary releases No Cure for Cancer. Do you remember that, Matthew?
Okay. I like my beer cold, okay? I like my cigarettes lit, okay? Yeah. I like my jokes written by somebody else, okay?
Man, that's why you're my fucking guy, man. And that's where I'm headed. Because we didn't know about the other guy at the time. I think it was probably in the Bowling Green days when we got familiar. Because he was like, we were kids when this man was in his prime. And the man I'm talking about is Bill Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
And Bill Hicks and Dennis Leary, they were somewhat associates. They were friends. But after Dennis Leary dropped No Cure for Cancer, just like MJ, Bill Hicks took this personal.
I mean, it's hard to like say, it's completely valid. And it is like, I think he's widely, by any like real stand-up comedian, this is like a scarlet letter for this dude. I think he's still respected. He did become a successful actor. He's fucking Serpico and shit, But I don't know. It is hard to get over. It's like, that's one thing. I love Robin Williams too. But every time you hear somebody talk about him as a stand-up comedian, there's that little dig also. But
stigma.
I'll tell you one funny thing related to that part of Dennis Leary. He was on this show called Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn. And he was kind of big dickin' at the time, like at that time of his career. And he was on with Greg Giraldo, rest in peace to a legend. And Greg Giraldo was great on that show. This is a great show. It's a great comedy show if you love it. And they were getting back and forth. And Geraldo was going like kind of digging into Dennis Leary, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he said something," and Dennis Leary's like, "Look at this fucking joke. This guy's coming in with fucking prepared material, and kind of like said some shit like that." And Geraldo's like, "Oh yeah, well, it's kind of crazy. Well, that's what you do when you're a comedian. You write your own jokes, Dennis." Or he says something, and it was just like,
yeah, that's exactly what he said.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I mean, he really fucked with him, and I think that's kind of the attitude of a lot of people that aren't just his buddies. He does have comedian friends, but it's just like, man, fuck this guy.
And now, even to this day, whenever he's asked about it by an interviewer or reporter, he just shrugs it off. That it's not real.
Well, I think there are some like comedians that had that attitude though, that were like just like Carlos Mencia, that almost had this attitude. They're like old Catskills comedians, where they're like, jokes are things that they're to be used by comedians. They're out here. Like, it's how I tell them. And it's like, I don't need to ask somebody's permission to tell their joke. And that's fucked up, and that's not true. But there's probably some people that get so big where they're like, man, fuck that. Like, it's working for me, so fuck that guy.
Yeah, but there's consequences and repercussions and some possible furniture moving around this motherfucker if you encounter the wrong motherfucker. Because I look at that just like how people look at hip hop. There are some purists who are like, nah, man, I'm an MC. I write my own shit. But this current age, it's kind of known. Some artists let it know, like, yeah, I got a team of writers, which, hey, if the end product is good, fine. But I can't, to me, that's a mark against you. And I look at it the same way in comedy.
Well, you got to let it be known, like Chris Rock lets it be known. Like, it's known he has writers and has had writers for years that help him with his material. But I think that's as simple as you have to do it. Like, all you have to do is tell people, yeah, I have some writers. And then I don't think there's any sting to it. It's when people are like, man, this guy's funny. And then like a month later, they're like, wait a second, this guy's stealing jokes from some whoever. It's like, then you're like, man, fuck this.
But what I like, when it came out, I remember this more for the video Asshole, which was heavily shown on MTV and The Box, and the lyrics in it, man. I mean, I feel like that was authentic Dennis Leary, because maybe he is an asshole. There's a good chance.
And he's great at playing one on screen, so maybe, like you said, it's not too far off,
ASSHOLE, everybody.
I'm an asshole.
On that same day in 1993, Cream reunites for a performance of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony in Los Angeles, USA. Other inductees include Creedence Clearwater Revival, Ruth Brown, The Doors, Van Morrison, and Sly and the Family Stone.
God damn, what a fucking lineup.
Yeah, man. With an induction by George Clinton himself, P-Funk Master.
Dude, I was just thinking of him the other day because I was like, I think I attributed a couple of Roger and Zapp songs to George Clinton just because they sound similar, but also because I saw a small clip of PCU, the movie from the 90s with Piven, and that college movie with like Piven and Spade and shit, and George Clinton's in the end of that shit. Back when Piven wasn't a scumbag.
Yeah, that was so long ago. Someone who is probably not in attendance for this induction is probably your boy, NHL great Mario Lemieux, who announces that he has been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
I forgot about this part of Mario Lemieux's life, but shout out to a fellow cancer survivor. That's dope. And I think he came back from it too, which again...
He came back and was in his tip-top form.
Honestly, like, dude, I don't know how people do that. I remember... hockey is crazy. I don't have any ability in that, but I remember there was a guy that played for the Steelers named James Conner that was a running back, and he got cancer when he was in college, and he practiced when this dude was getting cancer treatments. And like, these athletes, it's crazy what they can do, because I'm telling you, dude, I don't. It seemed impossible. I tried to jump up on a curb once when I had chemo. I couldn't even get my foot. I couldn't even do a jump. I couldn't jump. My muscles are like gone so much. So to be a pro athlete and come back at the tip top of your form in something as complex as hockey, this dude was a legend, man. Still is. He ain't dead.
Yeah, it's the living legend, man. And he owns the team. Like the first person to
God.
do that shit, own his former team that he played for.
Baller alert.
Facts. That following year, 1994, left-handed pitcher Steve Carlton of the Philadelphia Phillies is elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I can see a little
Shout
of
out
that.
to my lefties.
A little what? Oh man, is he teaching shop or pitching baseball, Steve? I don't know.
Or married to Marcy Darcy. I see a little Jefferson-ish.
Let's play some. What is that? Board game? Regrettable decisions or
Ethical dilemma.
yeah, there.
Same difference. He was a 10-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, 4-time National League Cy Young Award winner, Triple Crown, Golden Glove Award, National League wins leader, NL ERA leader, strikeout leader, and his numbers retired.
Legend. And oh, look at that stat! And was eating professional pussy eater with that mustache.
Yeah, I had to show you the stash.
Dude, it's coming back. I'm letting this beard come out a little bit. Rocking this. Maybe go with an extreme look for a while. Look like I'm in like a survivalist thing, but it's coming back, Steve. I'm gonna rock that
Salt and pepper.
tombstone. I'm gonna get that Wyatt Earp shit going. You know?
Do some Western fucking whistling. Yeah, that following year, 1995, the final episode of Kirk airs on the WB. Why did y'all give Kirk Cameron his own fucking show? Like, who thought that was a good idea?
He likes Jesus and he's in the city. Kirk. God, I mean, how long did it last? But you know, he's making it. He's still around. He's famous for being a Jesus freak now. But Kirk, just the show Kirk. I mean, what was? Can I get a slug line for what this show was about, please?
This show revolves around Kirk Hartman, an aspiring illustrator and recent college graduate living in Greenwich Village. After his aunt decides to move to Florida to get married, Kirk is left in charge of his younger brothers and sister. It also stars Will Estes. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Oh yeah, Will Estes, one of my faves.
Of course, on the WB.
Kirk, dude, it's Jordan. If he was a Jesus freak living in the city, he's an illustrator. She's a Jesus freak. He's into it. Kirk Cameron's coming on the WB. Jesus.
Yeah. And then on that same day, somebody who isn't probably watching the final episode of Kirk is probably Orenthal James Simpson, because the murder trial started for that motherfucker in his running Bronco.
I'm not black, I'm OJ.
And we talked at great length about that. We gave it its own episode. So check the archives for that. But that was the thing. It totally happened. And he's not black, he's OJ. But on that following year, 1996, Biodome premiered in theaters. Moronic best friends get themselves locked inside the Biodome, a science experiment, along with a group of environmental scientists for 1 year. Directed by Jason Blum, starring Pauly Shore, Stephen Baldwin, Joey Adams, and Kylie Minogue.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen this. I know you've seen this.
Nope.
No?
As a kid, I avoided Pauly Shore things.
We's a little Jews. No, we sing the Jews.
I knew at an early age he was not funny. The joke was on him. And like that just didn't do it for me. I need you to be funny. And Pauly Shore was not really funny to me. I would only watch something with Pauly Shore in it if he was an added thing. Like if I appreciated the actual star, but like a Pauly Shore starring vehicle, hard no.
So in the Army now, never checked it out.
Before we watched it, nope. Sure the fuck did not.
I mean,
Jury
I get
duty,
it. It was a stupid. I'm not into. See, my wife loves Son-in-Law. Not into it. I watched this, and you know, one thing I always thought especially as I got older, that was just like a fun little thing to think about. Is, this movie is Stephen Baldwin and Pauly Shore acting pretty much as dumb as you possibly can. A lot of it weasel, but then Stephen Baldwin's doing his thing the same way.
Yeah.
But there was like people who were paid money who probably worked on maybe even like a Spielberg movie that had to like sit there and film fucking Pauly Shore like spinning in a circle, like looking at my D hole, like, and they're like, Jesus Christ, dude, like I thought my life was gonna be different than this.
Am I gonna lose my SAG card fucking with these
Yeah.
motherfuckers? And,
It's
Alec
not
Baldwin.
good. FYI, spoiler alert, Steve. It ain't great.
Oh, you don't say? Alec Baldwin told his brother to not even do it because it could be suicide to your career. And Steven was like, nope, big bro, you're wrong. I'm gonna do this fucking movie. I'm gonna be the next fucking Mel Gibson.
I mean, weirdly enough, though, like this was like one of those "dude, where's my car" moments where a movie so dumb it like caught on a little bit. It became like a cult classic in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, this was a movie that I only rented because it was available for free at the movie or at the library, at Way Public Library.
It's a cult classic to a subgenre of potheads. It's not like it's half baked or Friday. It's not that kind of pot cult classic or Cheech and Chong. It's a subsection. You got to go in the back aisles to get to that level of pothead who fuck with this movie. But hard no, Pauly Shore starring, I can't do it. But somebody else who probably couldn't do it were Marlon and Shawn Wayans, because in 1996, January 12th, Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood premiered in theaters. It's a parody of several U.S. films about being in the hood. For instance, Boyz in the Hood, South Central, Menace II Society, Higher Learning, Juice, directed by Paris Barclay, starring Shawn and Marlon Wayans.
That was great, Steve. That was a great soundbite, great narration.
That's my best.
And yeah, I mean, personal story, I rented this during a sleepover what year did this come out?
96.
96, so say a year after this. I'm a freshman in high school, Steve. Not too young. We rent this from Video Connection, me and my boys. My mom and dad are in the kitchen doing whatever. I'm in my living room with my buddies watching this. And within about, I'd say 10 minutes, my dad comes in and goes, nope, ejects the tape, and is like, I just heard the F word maybe 80 times in about 5 minutes, so I'm going to turn this off. So I was punished for that, but still then somehow watched it soon thereafter, and it became one of my favorite movies. So there you go.
Well, it doesn't help that like 3 dudes get shot in the intro of the movie. I mean, it's done in a tongue-in-cheek slapstick style, but I mean, they get shot nonetheless.
Happy birthday, homie. Happy birthday, homeboy. Yeah, it's just about the trials and tribulations of living in the hood, Steve.
And Vivica Fox has a small role. She plays Ashtray, and Ashtray is the main protagonist. He's Shawn Wayans, and Vivica Fox plays his mom, and she mentions that there are no positive Black females in hood movies or something like that.
She's got to get out of there. She can't stick around.
Yeah.
His dad is, I think, played by who I never knew this, but I think it's Lorenz Tate's brother.
It's his brother, Lamar Tate, and he's been in other things that are hilarious. But he kills it in this shit. They basically replicate the Boyz in the Hood storyline of Trey moving in with his dad. And the reason they did this way is because Cuba Gooding Jr. is only 7 years younger than Lawrence Fishburne, who played his father in Boyz in the Hood. So they do this play on trope where Ashtray, Shawn Wayans, is about the same age as Lamar Tate. He's actually older than Lamar Tate.
The math don't work out, but that's hilarious. His whole house, including the bookshelves, the stove even, is covered in plastic. You can't fuck with that. because he lives with his
And,
mom, Steve. So Ashtray goes to live with his dad, who's younger than him, and his dad lives with his mom.
and ain't no smoking his dad's shit. And if you bring any of them, oh, ain't no catch you drinking my shit. And if you bring any of them hoes, make sure I fuck them first. And he giving Ashtray some chores. You have to keep track of his Matchbox cards, organize them Sega Genesis cartridges. I want you to do my homework since you want to be such a smart ass. And after that, after nighttime, I want you to cut the hair off my balls.
And so, I mean, loaded schedule already. But he one thing we find out in their conversation is Ashtray's actually a virgin, Steve. He's gotten close. You know, he's gotten there. Actually, maybe he popped it, but the sitch was a little weird where he hooked up with this chick on a Sunday. You know, her mom went to church. I forget where they met, but he came over to fuck. They started getting it on. And her mom forgot her purse in the, you know, when she left. Cam comes back, smells the sex in the air, and then comes in looking like the third member of Demolition, just ready to go. It's wild. But that chick though, Steve, here's a little secret time. That this little snippet where they're just having sex for a second, young Matt was just like, I was like, okay, I'm into this.
And it's the same girl from Boys in the Hood, because this is another retake of a scene where Cuba Gooding's character Trey, he meets the girl in the same fashion at like a local swap meet. They get it in, and then the mom, she forgets something, comes back, and like it's the same lady, Leonette Scott, and yeah, like she makes me walk around with the chubby every time I
see her. Would you smack, like in that situation though, Steve? Granny walks in or mom walks in, whatever it is. I mean, you got to just go ahead and just take one for the team. That's almost like worth the story, you know?
Whoa, that's my dream, to get mom and dad. Mom and daughter.
Okay.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Steve, I'm not here to judge. I'm talking. You want to get the full experience. I get it, but
mommy and daddy porn, rated R. Why is it just rated R? Oh, he's just shaking the dad's hand.
That's not your leg. But no, I mean, Granny comes in and
mom and daughter,
whatever it is, I'm into it. You know,
yeah, mom and daughter.
I sure do hope you get her number.
The girl?
Hell no, her mama, she the freak. Shit.
Daughter and mom.
But the sitch ain't great. Like if you tell me that and it's just like that happens, awesome. I'm not picturing what walks in, which is like Ron Simmons if he was a fat midget and some LOD.
Damn.
Miss Juicy. Also, quick sidetrack, Sally, Steve. Miss Juicy's about to be in a major motion picture, so shout out. You might be able. You need to reach out. You're in Atlanta, so you need to get a touch.
And get a touch. And they replicate the Menace II Society crackhead guy who's like, "Oh, I got these cheeseburgers, man. Oh,
I'll suck your dick, man."
Yeah, and the dude is just like, I think Loc Dog ends up taking him on that offer. It's a spoof. It's a super goofy ass spoof, and it's a reminder that sometimes stereotypes can be funny.
They nail, and like you keep mentioning movies that they're spoofing and like these little connections they have to the originals, and it's throughout this whole movie. I mean, they keep the one dude that they stomped flat. He was in Menace to Society, I think, the angry dude.
Getting his ass beat.
Hey, partner. You know, that guy's in it. And just some notable things. We're not going to cover this whole movie, but Loc Dog's truculent pothead grandma that loves to get in like fist fights and ride around in her fucking G ride and shit. That's awesome.
And smoke fucking Cadillac-sized joints, played by the late great Helen Martin, who is a longtime actress, comedic actress, man. Was that you, Ashtray? You punk ass son of a bitch! Give your grandma a hug.
You still hit like a bitch.
Yeah. all of these, even though it's not even a Keenen Ivory Wayans film, Keenen Ivory is in it. Message, he plays the mailbox guy. He's the mailman, and that's a slant at John Singleton, who has a small cameo. You blink and you miss it in Boys in the Hood. He plays a mailman.
Okay.
But there's like most of the people in this flick are Wayans posse. Like, you know, Damon Wayans and his son are the only like non-performing Wayans who aren't in the film.
I mean, but I can't think of. There's not too much fat on this. You get a joke like every 5 seconds. It's hilarious. The whole picnic thing, that shit with Toothpick, the villain Toothpick. That guy's hilarious. Deal, motherfucker, deal. Deal, motherfucker, deal. Like,
take me to jail. Lock me up. Throw away the key.
Man, I'll fuck a dude in the ass. Oh, man, y'all never been in the showers with a bunch of dudes and you just see the suds just going down the crack of his ass. You know, I'm just playing,
man, give me that turkey.
Yeah, dude, he's wearing phone books and shit. I love it. Also, Crazy Legs, great character, and Preach, the most militant black dude who loves fucking the most Caucasianish of women. Fucking
my milk of magnesia. After the devil made you, he broke the mold. And once
I
again,
like to do what the white man has done to us for generations. Fuck him.
Fuck him. And both of those guys are Keenen or Wayans family like not members, but like they're part of that crew because they've been in other productions. Dashiki, that's the love interest of Ashtray, and Dashiki, that's Swahili for Doggy Style, even though it's not. But for the narrative of this movie, it's some ratchet shit. And I believe she was in Scary Movie, the same lady who played Dashiki.
Yeah, I think you're right. Another notable thing, the preacher at the church.
Why come the pastor have to have him a nice house? Why come pastor got to have a nice car? Don't ask. I said, don't ask. I said, don't ask. No questions.
Don't ask.
Brother, get the plate. Brother, get the plate.
Why the preacher got to have a good house? Why the preacher got to have a nice car? Yeah. Preach on, Reverend.
Yeah, the dance off. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. I love the fucking obvious stunt double, like second take shots or whatever you want to call it, man. Like that next shot is totally not the original actor or actress. It's a person who can like backflip. It's a dude. Like it went from an old lady in one shot to a dude who can do a backflip in the church. And like I just find like the more obvious it is, the better for comedic.
Oh yeah. Effect. I mean, they get like a split second of the old lady, like, and then it's a dude like flip-flopping around on the ground and shit. Yeah, that's hilarious. The end, the whole, I mean, any drive-by in this that they do, but the one at the end that's in slow motion where like when they cut to the aftermath and the dick sucking cheeseburger guys. I mean, it's so good, Steve. And there was a reason my dad took the tape out and took it away for a while, because it's not meant for kids, but god damn it, it's funny.
One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, knick-knack, paddywhack, get the dog a bone. 2000 parted out of time. My bacon is smelling fine.
What's that guy's name? God, that guy has they give him a funny nickname. I forget what it is.
Something Gandhi.
Farrakhan, that's what it is.
Farrakhan.
Also, whenever Ashtray has to, he goes to take his driver's test, and it seems pretty normal. He gets in, the guy gets in, he's like, take a left. And it's very proper voiced. He's doing like a white guy stand up and he's like, take a right. Okay, pull over here. Gets out, comes back, and he's like, drive, motherfucker, drive. And he has like cash in his hand and shit.
And the guy who plays the driving instructor, Lexi Bingham, and he was in South Central, one of the things that was spoofed, and he was in the original Boyz in the Hood, and he actually died in a car accident before this movie was even released.
Oh, damn. Well, rest in peace. But he killed that scene. So, I mean, if that's the last thing he was in, he nailed it.
And then I can't forget the Bernie Mac, the retake of Boyz in the Hood with the black cop. You black motherfuckers, you think you're tough. I hate Forrest Whitaker's gums because they black.
No, I hate the back of Forrest Whitaker's neck.
Whitaker's neck, yeah.
I hate my gums because they black.
Hate Whoopi Goldberg's lips.
We were arrested for being black on a Friday night. I'm telling you, you can't. I didn't have like a stopwatch, but if you did, like, there's no lapse in humor in this at all. It never stops. It's hilarious.
It's ongoing, man. And
the robbery or the spoof of the liquor store scene with the Asian owners. What'd you say about my mama? That whole thing. I mean, that's directly from Menace to Society, but another one. It's the same owners, and it's hilarious.
Played by the same people. Yeah. Well, I don't know if the actress is the same. The actor, the Chinese actor, is the same.
And we get to meet the man in that. The man.
He's good.
Yeah.
And he had OJ on his list.
He throws the little glove at him at the end.
Yeah, nice segue. Like, we just came from talking about OJ. Yeah, the juice is loose, man. But on that same day in '96, Dunstan Checks In premiered in theaters. A young boy befriends a larcenous orangutan in a luxury hotel. You heard that right. Larcenous, directed by Ken Kwapis. Starring Jason Alexander, Faye Dunaway, Eric Lloyd, Rupert Everett, Glenn Shaddix, and Paul Rubens.
Yeah, this was not. I mean, how terrifying! I don't know if you've seen the movie Nope, Steve, but to have a live chimpanzee actor, that's a hard no for me. Like, I'm not. You're not gonna find me doing what I see behind you at all. I'm not getting anywhere near that shit.
Bro, at some point, I think Jason Alexander was making $1 million an episode. Like, you didn't have to do this, Jason. I know you wanted to, like, look in the aftermath and see, like, there's life after Seinfeld. But, like, bro, man, I like to think you had better options. You really didn't have to put that toupee on the whole production time.
Yeah, it looks like fucking they took some of the ass hair off of the chimpanzee and put it on his head.
You went from acting with Jerry Seinfeld to acting with an ape. Like,
this movie was prolific because I mean, if you went to rent a movie in the 90s, this box, they kept it on the shelves like an absurdly long time. Should have never even been put out, but forever I'd be like, pass. Why is this still on here? Get this shit out of here.
Fucking a larcenous monkey. I never seen the movie, don't want to. I'm just guessing, like, was the monkey like saying, "Oh, that's a nice watch"?
I don't remember the larcenous part of it. I just remember it's like he's causing havoc in like a hotel or some shit, and it's not. I mean, I literally watched it once as a kid, and even as a kid was like, no need. Sorry, Jason.
Yeah, sorry, George Costanza. I couldn't stand it. But in 1996, January 12th, also Two If by Sea premiered in theaters. A couple steals a Matisse painting on the contract. They manage to escape the police. The sale takes place 4 days later on an island. Things don't go as planned. Directed by Bill Bennett, starring Sandra Blah, Dennis Leary, speaking of the devil, and Yaphet Kotto, Mike Starr, and Stephen Delane.
Dude, I have like a vague memory of seeing this, and it's a snoozer. If you weren't already snoozed to death by the Bullocks, yeah, dude. This is one where you're just praying there's some nudity in it, so that it's worth even putting in some time to watch. And there's not, FYI.
So,
I don't think.
So I'm over here with Sandra Bullock, and we're supposed to steal a painting, but then we go to an island, and then there's no cure for cancer.
I want to make this face all night.
Leary, he was getting work in the 90s, Steve. So that bag was getting filled up. Okay.
But fuck this movie. Yeah. In 1997, King of the Hill debuts on Fox. A social worker mistakenly believes that Hank is abusing Bobby. When Bobby finds out what is happening, he takes advantage of the situation. And this episode is titled Pilot.
You know, they didn't put a lot of creativity into the title, but the episode, especially, I'm coming in as not a huge fan of King of the Hill, Steve. Admittedly, I like it. I respect Mike Judge, and I do like this show, but I was not like a regular viewer of it, or you know, it was just it came on. I watched some every once in a while. So, but as far as my knowledge, I know all the characters, all the fun shit, and they get it all in the first episode. I mean, they give you a great intro to the show.
It's character setting, definitely, man. Like, which is like we did that with the pilot of the Frasier sitcom, man. Like, you know, setting the dynamics, like, and they even get a little flashback with Cotton Hill. But in this opening scene, it's Hank Hill. We got his buddies Dale Gribble, Bill Daltrey, and Boomhauer, and they're all staring at Hank's Ford truck, trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with it. It's having issues, and Dale Gribble, one of the things he said was Ford stands for fix it again. And Hank corrects him like, maybe you're thinking of Fiat, Dale.
Auto industry hadn't been the same since George Bush went over to Japan and vomited all over them auto execs. That's the kind of combos we're having in Texas. You live there, Steve. Is this what you guys were talking about over there?
I was not, but I overheard such things being said, and that's what like made me appreciate this cartoon, because Mike Judge, as you know, he's a satirist. That's the premise of Beavis and Butthead, and as you can see, like the similarities in animation on the early Hank King of the Hill episodes, man. So this was satire because he's from Texas, and he created this fictional town called Arlen, and it's like, you know, it's based off of people he probably grew up around.
It's great. I mean, we get all the hitters, you know, Dale, Boomhauer, who's like I bet you work, damn it. He talks like Doolin, fucking just got a mush mouth. And the other guy, I never remember that fat dude's name. The real dumb one. Hey, Hank.
Bill Daughtry.
Yeah, Bill.
He's just pathetic. That's his thing. Like, I'm just the pathetic guy who lives in my glory days. You know, he was a stud in high school on some Al Bundy shit.
Oh, but, shit. You know, okay.
Those years were far, far, far behind. And like these days, he's just like a dad bod looking motherfucker with a horseshoe head.
Yeah, this shit ain't going good. But as that's happening and they're doing their car shit, Bobby's in his room. We meet him, and Hank's like pops in real quick, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing, boy?" And he's listening to like a tape of us like farts, I think, which I'm into. I listened to an Adam Sandler CD that had a lot of this too. But
what Bobby's listening to is Funny Phone Jerks. Which is a takeoff of the Jerky Boys, which was popular at the time in the mid to late 90s. A lot of kids around, we were the same age as Bobby when this first started, and like that was our thing. Adam Sandler and Jerky Boys. It was an alternative to music. And you know, he has a game coming up, so Hank gets Bobby prepared for the game. Bobby's in the game. He's not familiar with baseball or really sports. He's kind of a daddy pleaser in a way. And you know, as Bobby is on first base, Hank is telling him, "Watch the ball, boy. Keep your eye on the ball." And he's like, "What? I can't hear you." And he's like, "Keep your eye on the ball." And he gets popped. He gets popped in the face, and like Bobby looks like this for most of the episode.
So after that, after he gets hit in the face, they leave. Like the game, we leave the game. He's got to go to the store. He's got to get some WD-40. He's got to get something else.
And some tap and die.
Yeah, some tap and die. So he goes into what I'm assuming is like a Walmart type situation, and he's just not getting the help he needs, Steve. He just wants to know where the home improvements section is. Yeah. But the guy, he's like, "Wait, what kind of tool you need?" He's like, "What does it matter what fucking tool I need, kid? You raging giblet head? Fucking, where's the tool section at?"
And then he was just like, "You know what? Fuck the tap and die. Fuck the WD-40. Where's a hammer? Like, can I get a hammer? You know what a hammer is? Can I get that?" And so, like, some town locals, they see this from a distance, and then the telephone game, the grade school telephone game begins. oh, Hank Hill, I heard he beats his boy up after games. And then that passes on to another town local. I heard Hank Hill, he beat up the whole little league team. And then that passes on to another town local. He beats his wife and his kid and the local league little team. And then it just gets convoluted till it reaches the social workers of
Yeah,
Arlen.
and so now Hank's labeled as a pariah in this town. He's a child beater who God knows what else. So CPS gets involved, and CPS is like the nerdy. It's basically a version of that nerdy teacher Beavis and Butthead had, just like a
Yeah.
mincy, like douchey guy. Like, hey, fucking Chuddy, Mr. Chuds. So now we're kind of into the situation I was talking about, where Bobby's throwing a ball against the wall. So he's got a black eye. At some point, Peggy walks into his room. She takes a shot to the face. I think something falls. She takes maybe a ball to the face. Pause.
Straight to the dome.
So now she's got a shiner. Hank's working on his car. He's getting pissed off. He comes in, starts screaming. CPS shows up and is there. And now he's like in there in a rage. And both people in his house are sporting some bruises, Steve. So it's looking really, like a Ike Turner situation's going on here.
And the social worker is kind of forcing his way into the situation, and Hank's not down for the Q&A fucking sit down. They ask him how many children they have, and Peg's like, well, we have one, only because of Hank's narrow urethra. And Hank's just, well, hold up, the man's asked how many kids we have. He
Didn't ask you about my glands.
Yeah, dude, he's getting fed up, and he's like, he looks at this guy as like a pansy ass government worker, and like, it pains me that my tax dollars go to punk motherfuckers like you. Get the fuck out of my house. And
Twig boy.
Twig boy, Twig boy,
Twig boy.
We can't forget that Luann, the niece of Hank and Peggy, she's introduced. We already kind of established that, like, oh, she's there temporarily because like her parents are always in spits and snits.
Yeah, they're trash, and also, while Hank was going off on the CPS guy and that all this shit was going on, Dale also fucks up his truck, Hank's truck, because he's trying to help him out, but he cuts like a brake line and fucks the truck up. So Hank's just livid at this point, Steve, and rightfully so.
With his narrow urethra. And
God damn it! Don't be talking about my glands like that.
After he kicked Twig Boy out the house, Twig Boy goes to one of his buddies, Dale, who just snapped his brake cable. And, he's asking him questions. And we're kind of introduced to this dynamic where, Nancy, his wife, who's not faithful, as we will find out in later episodes, she says she doesn't have time for whatever the hell Dale's talking about because she's got a migraine treatment with Johnny Redgorn. And we see Johnny Redgorn pull up in his nice convertible top, and he's blaring music, so that migraine can't be that bad. And
You've been doing migraine treatments for a year now and nothing's going on. And his son looks suspiciously like John Redcorn too. I don't know, but
Joseph, yeah. And that we're introduced to that too. And if you're paying attention for the first time watching it, you put two and two together, like, okay, this is what's going down.
Yeah, Dale's not really the sharpest tool in the shed. So CPS is going around, but I mean, Dale does give he's like, he'd never touch that boy. It's his pride and joy because he can't have any other kids because of that narrow urethra. I mean, who doesn't know about Hank's narrow urethra at this point? I don't even know why he's embarrassed.
Yeah, it's the talk of Arlen. And, the social worker, even though he was kicked out, he was done with his business with Dale, he's still perusing the streets of Arlen, and he overhears Bobby and Joseph imitating Hank Hill. Boy, if you don't stop that right now, I'm gonna go upside your head. And he's thinking this is the actual Hank Hill. He's like, oh, I got his ass now.
Look through the fucking fence, dude. Like you just talked to the guy. That wasn't that good of an impersonation, my man.
It really
now he's on Hank's ass, Steve. This guy's got a hair up his ass. He's onto it. This guy, we find out this guy's an LA kid, city kid coming to Harlan, bringing all these highfalutin city ideas to Harlan. He doesn't know. He
Fucking
doesn't fucking
libtard.
know, Steve. Fuck this guy.
And we find out when he reports back to his manager, the manager asks, "So how's Harvey?" And the guy's like, "Harvey? Harvey is the coach of the little league team. You didn't even talk to Harvey?" And then like that right there, because he didn't cover his bases, he's let go and sent back to Cali. And
Twig boy.
The manager calls the Hill household and he's like, "Hey, is Hank Hill there?" And Bobby answers the phone and the manager tells him like, "Hey, the social worker, we just did away with that whole report. Like, you won't be hearing back from that guy ever again. We sent him back with his bags packing." And so Bobby, he doesn't relay this message back to Hank. He's still under the ruse of like, "Oh man, the people are watching me, CPS." So he takes full advantage of this shit. So Bobby opens the garage as Hank is working on it. He knocks down the fence. He dresses the dog up and puts Hank's glasses on it, takes pictures of it with Joseph. Like, this is funny. Yeah, fuck my dad. He even sets the water hose on his father. He wants to do some hood rat shit.
I mean, you're gonna get your ass kicked. I mean, I don't give a. Especially these people are old school. You would have been done had your ass kicked. But what I love is Hank has to like everything pisses him off that's happening, but he has that reaction where you have to like quickly rein it back. Where he's like, "God damn, that's a great way to water the lawn, son." Like he has to like eat it, So Bobby's really milking this shit for all it's worth. And I gotta applaud it. I was a brat too, so I definitely would have done this.
Yeah, man. And then he walks in on, or was it Peg? The mom walks in on Bobby doing a Michael Winslow impression. He was inspired by Police Academy. He's like, "Yeah, that's my dream. That's my goal in life. I want to be like that guy. Just make funny sounds and get paid for it." And then my dad, he won't look at me as a disappointment. And then Peggy checks him like, "That's what you think? You think Hank like don't fuck with you because whatever?" Like that's totally not the case.
Yeah,
Daddy
she
loves
tells
you.
Hank that too, right?
Yeah, and he comes in. He's like, "Look, boy, you're my pride and joy. I'd do anything for you, Bobby. Huh? You think you're a failure? Sure, you should see some of my friends." And then, we get a TGIF moment in the end.
La la la. And yeah, so like it's basically like Fonzie can't say love. He's like, well, yeah, it's father, son, but eventually they hug or like touch each other in some paternal way that's not weird. And as that's happening and they're having their moment, Twig Boy's on a bus out of town. He's already, but he literally passes Hank Hill and Bobby as Hank's like giving him a nice like fatherly like jab on the arm, and he's like, that guy fucking hit him. He hit the kid, and the guy's like, "What'd you say, Twig boy?" Like this guy can't get any fucking respect, Steve.
Did you see that? See what, Twig boy? And well done, Mike Judge, as this is I don't know, man, a great way for any pilot. Your debut episode, it establishes the whole clique, the main crew, and what to expect, going forward.
Hell of an intro.
How many kids we have? He didn't ask you about my glands.
But someone who probably didn't watch the debut of King of the Hill on Fox 1997, January 12th, was probably ladies figure skating star Oksana Bayul. She was injured slightly while driving intoxicated in Bloomfield, Connecticut. Olympic champion figure skater Oksana Bayul was surrendered to police on charges she drove drunk and recklessly when her Mercedes went off the road on an early morning crash on that Sunday.
I did a triple Lutz into a stop sign. Oksana Bayul was fucking partying, Steve. We could have fucking just raged with Oksana back in the day. I mean, we were kids. That might not have been cool, but still.
Yeah, she looks like the European version of Tanya Harding in a way. And like knowing what we know now, we might not be far off.
Oh yeah. I mean, she's Russian Tanya Harding, basically. She's ripping butts, Just got like one of those like cheap vodkas you can get that's in like a plastic fifth, you know. She's got one of those just handy. You know, probably not a great sitch, but she can probably spin on your dick or something, do something
Hey,
cool.
go for the shot. And her blood alcohol content was 0.168. The limit in Connecticut was 0.10.
I don't know what the math is on that, how blackout you were, but you know, she's a Ruski with Steve. I can assume, I would only assume she's a tough broad. She can handle her liquor, but apparently not. Shame on you, Oksana.
Yeah. Oh, that following year, though, the final episode of Jenny aired on NBC. Your girl, man. Did you catch any of those episodes of Jenny?
Jenny? Jenny. What's Jenny, Steve? Not Jenny
We're, ta-
Jones.
we're talking about Jenny McCarthy.
Oh, see, the Jenny McCarthy show I watched was on MTV. I didn't watch
Singled
this.
out.
No, she had a show called the Jenny McCarthy Show that was like a sketch comedy show. It was hilarious. I mean, it was great. It was no, I mean boobs. What? But shout out to Jenny McCarthy. I don't give a fuck about what crazy opinion she has because I know she's a loopy bitch. But damn, back in the '90s, Steve, I had this Playboy tape that I stole from a buddy because like he just had it. This kid in the neighborhood that had her. It was like Playboy used to release like these weird. I guess they were like hype tapes when they had like a famous centerfold. Like this was Jenny McCarthy. So it was just like slow-mo, beautiful shots of her like soaping down a car, but I mean butt ass naked.
I
And
know
I
exactly
mean,
what you're talking about.
yeah, dude, Jenny McCarthy to me, right up there with Pam Anderson back in the day. Almost to me better because it wasn't as crazy of a body. It was almost like a more normal body, if I can
Natural.
say. Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
The premise was after inheriting a residence in Hollywood, Jenny and her friend leave their crappy jobs in Utica, New York. The house being mortgage afflicted, they must rent a guest house to two struggling filmmakers. Meanwhile, Jenny tries to find her B movie star father she never met. And I don't know if she found it within those 17 episodes, but I'm not going to do the research to find out.
Hmm. But it's still hi to Jenny McCarthy. What's up?
Hey,
Hey,
what's up?
hey, Jen.
1999. We're in 1999. Our friend Martin, and that was a straight home release, I believe. While on a school field trip, two friends travel through time and meet Martin Luther King Jr. at different points in his life. Yeah, man, you should check out the animation style
This
and
is an
just the cover.
animated movie, Steve. No.
It's an animated movie, man. It's like
Oh, this looks like those movies. I used to see these when I would go to church and have to like babysit the younger kids. There was like these animated biblical tales that they would have VHSs of. This is definitely the same thing.
and like, dude, the voiceover cast is star-studded like a motherfucker. It had Robert Richard, the guy from Cousin Skeeter. He was a child actor, but it's also LeVar Burton, Jaleel White. Yes, that Jaleel White. Ed Asner was in it. Angela Bassett, Danny Glover, Whoopi Goldberg, Samuel L. Jackson, James Earl Jones signed up for this shit. Ashley Judd, Richard Kind from Spin City, Susan Sarandon's, motherfucking John Travolta was in the bitch. How about Oprah Winfrey and
Wait,
Coretta
what
Scott?
in the fuck? You're making this up, Steve.
I am not totally. Frank Welker signed up for this shit, bro. Yes, this is big deal. And like, okay, this is January 12th, so it's probably around MLK Day that year, 99.
This looks like
So
Captain Planet animation too. They put some like Captain Planet shit to work here. Maybe I need to watch this. Maybe I spoke too soon, Steve.
with all those stars, how could you not give it a shot, man? I'm sure it's available on YouTube.
It's like the Expendables cast, but in an animated, hopefully historically uplifting tale. I don't know. I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on here.
And I don't know what's going on with Sugar Ray these days because they put out 1459 on that same day in 1999. The releases were every morning, someday, and falls apart.
On my mama papa's bed. God, Mark McGrath though, back in the day with that spiky Doherty hair,
The
he was just
fucking
swimming in it.
croc tips.
That whole pool that's behind you, that's PJ, Steve. That's pussy juice.
Yeah.
Clear as the driven snow. That's what he was on. And I mean, Mark McGrath, he was in The Office way back when. He did a little cameo there. He tries to stay relevant every once in a while. So, was it my thing exactly? No, but we all know these shits.
The band itself, I can't say I'm a fan, but the two tracks, someday when life has passed me by, you will always be there for me. That shit,
This
and
is
every
like
morning.
music to like dry hump to, like perfect for that. Just it doesn't matter location, but 90s, maybe you're in a nice comfy seat in some girl's living room and you're just trying to quietly just like dry hump. This is on.
She thinks Mark McGrath is so hot. It'll work in your favor. And it's vibes, just like Black Crows when they released "By Your Side" in 1999. Straight vibes. The releases were kicking my heart around. Uh, yeah, it's all vibes, just like vibes with Black Crows in 1999 when they released "By Your Side," and the releases were kicking my heart around. Only a fool, "By Your Side," and "Go Faster." And I remember seeing this album cover around. I feel like it's one of those 90s kind of deals. Like, yeah, if you put the 90s albums, like, oh yeah, I remember that around in stores at Sam Goody. And I wasn't the biggest fan of Black Rose, but listening to this album, I said this before about their debut album, man. They make that down home like 60s like vintage rock, and you can appreciate I appreciate the jams that they do, man. Chris Robinson, he's actually a good rock singer.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like them. They're not my thing either. If I'm going with a crow band back in the day, it's Counting Crows, but a Black Crows, it is what it is, and I respect it.
On that same day in 99, Britney Spears comes out with her debut, Baby One More Time. That
And
shit was huge. I
it
don't fuck
was.
with that shit. The album, I just remember the fucking schoolgirl fucking uniform and how that influenced our classmates. And I remember we had a Britney Spears, or no, it wasn't even Britney Spears. It was considered schoolgirl themed day. And it was that day was only happened because this shit was popular at the time. And thank you, Britney Spears, because we saw some tennis skirts in Perrysburg High School that day.
Well, also, if you went, like in the town, there was people that went to that Saint Ursula, or there was like an all girls Catholic school, and I'm telling you, Steve, now that was a fantastic time in our lives.
St. Ursula and Notre Dame.
That's what it was. I was thinking Notre Dame. That's it.
Well, both of them, man. This is the second best-selling album of the '90s.
That's
Believe
wild.
it or not.
But I mean,
That
they even
is.
had us guys watching it, Steve, because you would tune in because you were horny. I
She
mean,
was a hot
legit.
twat. Yes, look at her. She was our age. I think she might have been class of 99 or 2000, and we're '01. And it was just like, yeah, this bitch is like not too far from the
This
ballpark.
is naughty. If something's happening, this Mandy Moore, even Christina Aguilera at a time. You had your pick of, you know, sexually awakening white chicks back in the day, and this was the biggest one. And I mean, I remember being in rooms filled with dudes, and like we'd be watching MTV, but this would come on, silence. There's other than being like, dude, she is so hot, dude. I want to kiss her so.
Ass, titty, I want to eat it.
Titties.
It enters the list of the top 20 best-selling albums of all time, man. So Bankhead Bounce, I got to, man. But any ball gags, reach arounds, tiddlywinks, Matthew.
I mean, just can we get an award to the everybody involved in Don't Be a Menace? There needs to be some sort of an award given. Like, there's a Lifetime Achievement Award, there's all these awards, but just universally agreed upon best spoof movie, please. The Wayans, everybody involved, because this is it. This scary movie, we can nitpick. Hot Shots Part 2, possibly. We can go there, but I don't know, man. This is it, Steve. I loved watching it. I'm so happy we got to talk about it. And I got these cheeseburgers, man.
Wrong hoe, fool.
What about you, bud?
Man, in 1991, Golden Girls airs the episode Sister of the Bride. Blanche's gay brother comes to the town and he announces he's getting married. And Blanche immediately thinks, oh, well, guys, so you joined back to the other team. Oh, my Smithamy Dickens. And, like, you know, until his fiance shows up and he doesn't have XX chromosomes. Hilarity ensues.
It's not right, Steve.
It's not. Bless your heart, though. But on that same day in 91, SNL has an episode with musical guest Vanilla Ice and the host Joe Montana. And, you know, Vanilla Ice performs Ice Ice Baby and play that funky music. But future cast member Adam Sandler plays Hector Camacho in the O'Hanlon Memorial sketch. Fucking hilarious. He nails the Camacho Macho Man shit. And this is the debut of Bill Swirsky superfans. Dub Bears.
Oh, nice. That's legendary. I love that.
Yeah. And yeah, man, that's all I got. And as you could see, my man Matt G's rocking another Happened in the 90s hoodie because Redbubble store is in full effect. So check that out. You can get goddamn coffee mugs, mouse pads, shower curtains, throw pillows, throw blankets.
We might throw out some panties and some undies for all y'all freaks out there so you can put our faces on you. So we're working on it.
Bottle openers, can openers. And please like, share, subscribe, and comment. And please tell your sister, sometimes I park in handicapped spaces while handicapped people make handicapped faces. I'm an asshole.
He's an asshole.
And also check out Over the Culture, Crush Gasm with Kendra, B3F Podcast with Joey and Steve. And don't worry, B-Movie with Amanda and Wade. This is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Fuck y'all.
Nasty.